Let me start off by saying these dreams didn't show up all organized and labeled like some fancy Christian bookstore shelf. Nah, they hit like scattered film reels at a yard sale, dusty, out of order, and somehow exactly what I needed when I needed it. It wasn't until I laid them all out side by side that I saw what God was doing, and turns out He'd been showing me a whole map, a blueprint, one scene at a time. So let's go back to that first reel, but not just in dream time, but way back in history. I walk up to this old shack of a cabin like the wind itself gave me a push. Ain't much to look at, dusty windows, roof all crooked, but the air around it sparkles like God Himself hung Christmas lights around the door. Everything's got this old-time sepia tone like we're sitting in the 1920s. I step inside and bam, my vision splits. It's like I'm seeing with my eyes and with heaven's eyes at the same time. God gave me His lens for just a moment. I'm standing over this giant board pinned all over with newspaper clippings, catalog pages, scraps of scripture and poetry, all arranged like a conspiracy theorist trying to find Bigfoot. Only thing is, it's not crazy, it's divine. I'm decoding a conversation, somebody writing to somebody else across time, leaving breadcrumbs where they knew I'd find them. "What are you working on?" someone asks. "A conversation," I whisper, not looking up, "between two people. He's writing to her from the future, leaves messages where he knows she'll find them." And y'all, this ain't just some Pinterest project, this thing's sacred. One of the pieces reads, "The Hierophant to the High Priestess." And the moment I read it, awe rings through my chest like church bells on Easter Sunday. Now listen, I keep telling myself I'm just real clever, real intuitive, but the truth, I ain't working alone. What I've always called intuition or lucky guesswork, it's Jesus. He's standing at my shoulder, leaning in so close I can feel Him, like warmth hovering at the edge of my skin. He's nudging me line by line, whispering to my spirit, smiling when I catch the pattern. And me, I keep trying to insist it's all me, but it ain't. It's us. And still, I fight it. I start pacing that little cabin like I'm possessed by doubt. My curls are in full revolt. I'm raking my hands through them, muttering like a madwoman. It can't be me. No way it's me. The Hierophant to the High Priestess? What even is that? It's a metaphor at best. It don't mean it's mine. I laugh, sharp, a little too loud, and spin back to that board like I'm challenging the thing to a duel. Still, how do you explain this one? And this one? No, gotta be a coincidence. Don't be ridiculous. He's not talking to you, Lacey. Why would he be talking to you? I jab at the paper like I'm fighting ghosts. Maybe he means some other woman with bad hair and a tendency to overthink things. Maybe the universe enjoys a good joke at my expense. And right next to me, Jesus ain't flinching. He's calm and steady, looking at me like a proud teacher watching their gifted but stubborn student insist 2 + 2 might not equal 4. He's amused, he's patient, he's waiting for the inevitable shift. Time blurs, days run together. Every morning I open that door and I lay out more clippings. I sweep the dust, and y'all, I start out gray. Not just my clothes, but my skin and my eyes. It's like I've been filmed in black and white. But as I keep decoding His messages, something shifts. A streak of blue shows up at my sleeve, a shimmer of gold follows, my cheeks flush again, my laugh returns in full-bodied color. These words, they weren't just decoding the mystery, they were decoding me. Turns out this whole puzzle wasn't just about messages, it was about manifestation. And not New Age stuff, but real deal co-creation with God. He was teaching me how to trust Him, to hear Him, and to move before I had proof. That's what faith is. You act first, and revelation comes later. This wasn't a lecture, it was a divine scavenger hunt, and the more I found, the more I came alive. And then, because I'm human, I eventually step out of that cabin into the real world again. Friends are calling me to a beach bar, music bumping, neon flickering, good-looking men posting up by the drinks. And I try to blend in for a minute, but God don't let me. I'm sitting at the bar when a message from the Hierophant dings on my phone, and I press play, and it's like thunder hit the jukebox. I stand up slow, set my drink down, and say, I gotta go. Not because I was being dramatic, not because I was trying to ghost some fella, although that was the case too, but because heaven picked that exact second to drop this message. God wasn't just flirting with me anymore, He was handing me a direct punch to the gut. This is yours, kid. Go grab it. This is manifestation in motion, co-creation with God himself. The man writing across time wasn't just tossing words in the wind. He believed I'd find them. He had faith that I'd follow the trail. Faith first and evidence later. That's how prayer works too. And for me, I had to walk toward that first whisper before I ever got the full sentence. It was like God saying, "You want to know if it's really me? Then move your feet and find out." So I did, because God was pulling me up out of the grave of who I thought I was and building someone who could actually carry what was coming. Now, here's where it gets wild, because I walk out of that bar and onto the beach, but not the relaxing kind, not toes in the sand and sipping iced tea, nope. A train rolled in like some sepia-toned circus fresh out of a fever dream, steam hissing, brass horns blaring, tent flaps flapping, and before I know it, the whole beach turns into a carnival maze. To most folks, it probably looked like just a weird dream, but I knew better. This was formation disguised as chaos. There was a holy undercurrent running straight through the funhouse. I was supposed to reach the shore before sunset, not just as a finish line, but as a kind of proof that I could follow Jesus' lead, learn his rhythm, let him guide me through noise, distraction, and temptation, and still make it to where he was calling me. But y'all, the enemy doesn't have to drag you down to hell. He just has to keep you too busy to look for heaven. Because that circus train didn't just roll in, it took over. Steel wheels turned into striped tents, and smoke curled up, turning into banners. It was spectacle, confusion, and distraction on parade. And me right in the thick of it, dodging fire jugglers and old ghosts in sequin hats. Now, from my angle, it looked chaotic, but from God's, it was a training ground, a test dressed up as dazzling distractions, and everything between the train and the tide was designed to slow me down. One booth had a weird little photo machine. It took a picture of my face, then spit out a reel of images. A helpless baby, a modest woman in a blue dress, a timid-voiced deacon preaching from behind a webcam, then a woman, me, full of color and conviction, preaching like her bones were on fire. I just stared. This was destiny on film, a future I didn't feel qualified for right there in my hand. "Right," I muttered. "Sure, step right up, Lacey the preacher. Y'all come watch the girl who still Googles how to pronounce Worcestershire sauce." I laughed at myself but kept walking, because even as I joked, my feet knew better than my doubt. They kept moving forward no matter what my mind said. That's when the distractions really kicked up. A street magician stopped me, offering one free trick. A palm reader grabbed my hand, trying to sell me a shortcut. A vendor shoved a trinket into my palm, glittering but empty. An old friend showed up out of nowhere with apologies I'd already buried. Even my mama popped up, pointing at some fine beach boys lounging in the sand. "Look at these handsome men," she said. "Why don't you go talk to one?" "Mom," I said, "I gotta get to the water. I can't stop now." Every inch of that place was engineered to delay me, to tempt me back to easy, soft, and sweet. But I'd tasted presence. I couldn't go back to cotton candy theology. This wasn't just noise, it was warfare and carousel colors. Time warped, my shoes filled with sand, and my body ached. Every step up those dunes felt like I was dragging a full life behind me, and for a moment, I thought I was too late. The sun was setting and the shoreline still looked far off. I started beating myself up, thinking maybe I'd blown it. Even though I didn't stay long, I did stop, and I stopped too many times. Too many delays, too many distractions. I was sure I'd missed it. But then another dip, and another dune, and bam, there it was, an inlet. And it wasn't just the shoreline I thought I'd lost, it was better. It was safe. Shallow, glimmering water stretched out before me, full of kids laughing and splashing like freedom come to life. Too shallow for any of the deep ocean creatures I'd feared. Clear enough to see coral reefs and fish darting beneath the surface and little crabs scuttling past your toes. It wasn't the big, dramatic shoreline I thought I needed. It was gentler, kinder, and just like that I knew I hadn't missed anything. God had saved the best for the last stretch, because he knew what I needed wasn't just a finish line. It was a place where I could play and feel safe doing it. Children laughing, the sky burning gold, and the water shimmering like a promise. I stood at the shoreline breathing like I'd run 5 lifetimes to get there, and in my hand, a balloon. Now don't laugh, this wasn't no birthday balloon. It was bright and alive. It was crystal clear like blown glass and shimmering with light from the inside out. It didn't even stay the same shape, kept shifting in mid-air like it was breathing. 1 minute round, then oval, then something like a spinning wheel inside a wheel. not just for fun. This balloon had been guiding me the whole way. It was like Ezekiel's vision, the vault above their heads gleaming like crystal, alive with movement, carrying the glory of God. That's what this was. It wasn't tied to my wrist for kicks, it was leading me, pointing out the directions, floating just high enough to remind me, you're not doing this alone. And I wasn't the only one. All around me, kids danced in the shallows, each holding a balloon of their own, every one of them different. Colors and sizes, shapes like stars and spirals, even a few shaped like animals. Their balloons didn't look like mine, but they shimmered just the same. And just before I hit the water line, my string snagged, caught on a busted board hanging off the side of a weathered, worn shack, like the past was making one last grab for me. I panicked, my breath caught in my chest like a fishhook, sharp, sudden, and deep. I tugged gently, then harder, like if I pulled too fast, the whole thing might pop. Please don't let it pop, Lord, I whispered, barely able to speak, because if it did, I wasn't sure I'd survive the sound. Then, it gave way. The string slipped free from that old board, and the balloon began to grow, double, triple, beyond reason, swelling with light, not air, like it was filling with the breath of heaven itself. I stumbled back, my eyes wide, arms wrapped tight around the string. This thing's gonna lift me plumb off the ground, I warned, fear dancing on my tongue. And then a woman appeared at my side, gentle and still, with a balloon of her own bobbing quietly above her. She looked at me with a kind of knowing peace. "Hold on," she said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "But," I stammered, the wind already tugging at my feet, "if I hold on, I'll float away." She just smiled. "Yes, Lacey, and that's a good thing." So I did. With breath shaking and fingers white-knuckled, I held on. But I didn't just rise, I launched. I don't know what happened first, the lift or the letting go, but the moment I left that beach, gravity stopped mattering. 1 second, I'm standing there with sand sticking to my legs, breathing hard, heart hammering from the climb, and the next, I was floating. The whole world below me stretched and shimmered like God had peeled back the wallpaper of reality to show me what's really underneath. All around me, vortexes began to spin like black holes, but not scary. They weren't sucking the light out, they were made of light. Each one a window, a wheel within a wheel, layered dimensions turning over each other like the gears of heaven itself. Below me, I saw it all at once, like God had zoomed me out of the map of my own story. The rickety little cabin where it all started, the train tracks spilling right off its front porch, stretching clear down to the beach where I just stood. Every dream, every lesson, every test, all of it was connected. The tracks were never random. They'd always led me right here. And then I saw them, my 2 kids standing at the water's edge, watching me rise. My 2 tiny adults becoming smaller by the second. I wanted to yell, "I love you," to promise I'd be back, but my voice wouldn't work, or maybe it wasn't meant to. Their hair whipped in the wind, the sun was falling behind them in gold streaks. My daughter shaded her eyes and said soft but certain, "Don't worry, she'll be back, she knows where we are." But my son shook his head, his voice calm and steady, older than his years. "No," he whispered, "I don't think she will." And my heart broke wide open right there in the sky, because I knew he was right and she was right too. I would come back, but not the same. God would send me back eventually, but as a completely different person. I wanted to tell them not to worry, to stay close, to keep holding each other, but the wind took my words before they were ever formed. But I knew where God was leading me was for them too. He was just having me clear the way for them. Tears streaked my cheeks as the beach got smaller and smaller beneath me. The ocean, the inlet, the image of my kids fading into the wind. Then, just as I whispered, "Keep them, Lord," a gust caught me. It wasn't wild or violent, it was gentle, like a breath, God's own exhale. And that's when it happened. I was glided into a vortex of color, not darkness and not light, just pure movement, swirling blues and golds and white fire. Time didn't break, it melted, like candle wax stripping off the bones of the universe. One moment began to slide into another, boundaries softening, memories blending. Past and future folded inward like hot glass bending under the breath of God. Above me, memories thickened the atmosphere, slow and swirling, iridescent like the skin of a soap bubble. Scenes bled together. Childhood birthdays leaked into grief-soaked goodbyes. Old wounds ran in reverse, then forward again, as if healing and hurting were happening at the same time. I saw versions of myself, barefoot, bruised, and blooming, all at once. Some wept, some laughed, some stood still with my eyes locked on heaven like I was waiting for a cue. The air itself trembled as time lost its grip, like God was gathering all the tangled threads of my story and worming them in his hands until they ran smooth again. Every detour, every delay, every dead end was being braided by his hands into one soft ribbon. Swirls of light moved like paint on a face made of water, purples, golds, midnight blue. Each curve whispered something I had lived. A door I slammed, a prayer I whispered, a child I carried, a dream I let die. The moments twined together, no longer sharp, no longer tangled, just ribbon, endless, holy, and weightless. I drifted inside it like a leaf floating downstream, not steering, just surrendering. This wasn't a trap or a tunnel. It was an unraveling made sacred. Not chaos, but release. I was being transplanted. A soul carried across the veil of time with no map but faith and no tether but love. Color gave way to blackness and blackness to silence. And then, a shift, like a page turning between dimensions. A whole new timeline. Not just a new chapter, but a brand new book entirely. And the next thing I know, I'm hovering above a massive yacht, and I'm talking big enough to have a pool on the boat. Have you ever seen rich people party at sea? It's like Noah's Ark if Noah had money, sunglasses, and a DJ. And there I was, floating above them all in my wrinkled sky blue nightgown like some kind of hillbilly angel. No shoes, no brush, just wild curls and holy confusion. Oh, and my balloon? Well, somewhere along the way it had shape-shifted again. Now I'm sitting cross-legged on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle backpack, just hovering like I do this every Tuesday. People are on the boat pointing up at me, yelling stuff like, "How are you doing that?" And "Is that Dior?" And I'm just up there cracking up, yelling back, "I have no idea. Is he a Ninja Turtle?" Because I may have been transplanted, but hey, I'm still me. Looking absolutely uncool while simultaneously defying the laws of gravity and dress codes. Then this man steps out from the crowd. His name's Mike. Looks like the kind of guy who probably owns a few cars and gives advice no one asks for. He cups his hands around his mouth and hollers, "Hey, can I see your bag?" So I'm like, "Sure, Mike, why not? Let's share my flying turtle purse with the whole class." I toss it down to him and he catches it like we rehearsed this whole routine. He opens it up real slow and looks inside like it's going to be ancient scripture or a NASA blueprint. Nope. It's a tiny plastic fan, like the kind you get at Dollar General in July. He stares at it for a second, then nods like it makes perfect sense. "Oh yeah," he says, all wise like, "that's how she's flying. Makes sense now." And then he throws it back up to me. Like that little spinny fan was the missing piece of his hypothesis. Here's the thing, though. I wasn't flying because of that bag. I never needed the fan. But they did. People needed something to make sense of how I was floating, and God gave them just enough to calm them down and to let me keep going. And once Mike gave me his official but unnecessary stamp of approval, I floated right on across the sky like a bird with a cartoon backpack and zero control. Eventually I touched down, right on the deck, alone now with the crowd's noise behind me. The sea stretched out in front of me like a blank canvas, and that's when I see him. Him. The famous man who keeps showing up in my dreams like a rerun I never asked for. But this time, he's not wearing his fame-like armor. Nope. He's out in the water, alone, just floating. His eyes peeking just above the surface like a hungry crocodile, watching me, waiting, squinting at me. And y'all, it wasn't even subtle. He had a look that says, "I'm mysterious and probably emotionally unavailable." He was brooding like a daytime soap villain, floating there all serious while I stood on the deck looking like a humidified bedtime angel. So I squint right back at him like, "Oh, so you want to have a stare down? Let's do it." I'm in a nightgown riding a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles backpack, hovering by the power of the Holy Spirit and childhood nostalgia, and he's the one making this weird. So I call out real blunt like, "What? Never seen a woman in a nightgown before? You're being real rude staring like that." He rises up out of the water a little, just his shoulders and that famous face half lit by sunset. Then he asks, "Are you looking for me?" "Excuse me, what now?" I look at him like he just asked if I'd ever ridden a unicycle on the rings of Saturn. I say, no, I don't reckon I am, since I have no idea who you are." He blinks slow like that short-circuited his whole operating system. Then he says real casual, "Well, who are you looking for?" I have no idea, but I know it's not you. He laughs at that, really laughs, and starts swimming toward the boat. I narrow my eyes, trying to figure out if he's a threat or just an illusion altogether, because despite my feet wanting to run the other way, he sure is handsome, which clearly he is very aware of, and I call it out anyway. Well, ain't you a sight for sore eyes? He's on the deck with me now, drying off and laughing like it's completely normal for a woman to drop out of the sky just for him. And at that thought, my defenses go all the way up. Not this woman, no way, not for him. His smile is warm, his posture relaxed, but I know the species well. I've studied it all my life. And now that he's standing right in front of me, I can feel his ego pressing in on me like it's a living, breathing thing. I could turn it over in my hands and examine it like particles in a test tube. It's wrapped in humility, thick, thick layers of it, but it's there nonetheless. He's confident when he says, "If you don't know who you're looking for, how do you know it's not me?" Because I know the man God has in mind for me won't just treat me well, he'll be humble, and above all, a man of God himself. Well, maybe that's me, he says undeterred. I laugh out loud at that. No, I don't think so. Then I study him outright, and he lets me, doesn't mind my eyes on him one bit. I don't know who you are or why you're famous, but I do know that if it were you, little old me would always be living in your shadow. I'd never get to have my own identity or success, and if I ever did become successful, people would always give you credit for that, so no thank you. Because when I get where I'm going, I want to be able to say, me and God did that together. I plan to grow as big and as wild as God made me, and I can't be living in your shadow blocking his light from my face. His gaze doesn't waver, it's steady, making me real uncomfortable. You're not as tough as you pretend to be, he says. I narrow my eyes at him. Excuse me? He continues. I understand your point of view, but there's something you don't know. He steps closer. Because, Lacey, I've been dreaming about you for decades. I knew it was you the moment I saw your frizzy hair. And just like that, every ounce of fight in me whooshed out like air from a whoopee cushion. So, you might be a little misinformed, he adds, because, baby, you just found me. Turns out he was right. I ain't so tough after all, 'cause I start blubbering like a baby right there, ugly, snotty, and gross. He just wraps those big old arms around me and holds me while I try to process everything. I've been alone for this whole journey, threw everything I had into making it happen, lost everything in the process, and I do mean everything, all because God told me he had something better for me. He just never told me what that was. As he holds me, he starts to explain. You know that cabin on the mountain? The one in our dreams? I nod, still sniffling. Yes. I built it for us, so we'd have a place to get to know each other. God started bringing you to me after you gave your life to him. That's when we could finally talk, instead of me just watching you from afar. We could finally interact, and that became a vice really quickly. Laughing with you, kissing you, holding you. I kind of checked out of life for a little while. People thought I was depressed, but it was exactly the opposite. I finally had access to you, and I didn't want to give that up. He takes a deep breath. Then God said, that's enough for now, and he let me see you with someone else after you were divorced. That was enough to eject me from the illusion, to plant me back into reality. I just had to step back and trust God's timing. I'm so sorry. I had no idea any of this even possible at all. Don't be sorry. You needed time. You had healing and growth to do. Still, I'd visit you when God let me. I can feel him smiling into my hair now. Your hair is so wild, he chuckles. I laugh too. You're such a stalker visiting a woman in her dreams uninvited. I'd always wake up and think, why am I dreaming about him? Why him? Yeah, he laughs. It was kind of a blow to my ego when you had to Google me. The literal woman of my dreams had no idea who I was by my face alone. God's little joke. He definitely knows how to humble someone. My mind starts racing, trying to make sense of it all. Then childhood dreams come flooding back into my memory. I lean back and look him in the face, eyes wide. I think I dreamed of you when I was a kid. And the more I think about it, the more that I know that it's true. No, I know I did. In 7th grade, I dreamed about you standing on a stage singing. You had long hair then, and I was in the front row watching. You leaned down, touched my hand, smiled, and winked at me. I remember waking up thinking, that boy is my soulmate. And I didn't even like boys then. We're crying and laughing at the same time. Then another memory hits me like a freight train. We used to play together in our dreams. It felt so real, I exclaim. He's nodding his head, but I can see the relief washing over him. Finally, she remembers. I continue. We used to play like best friends. I remember being in 3rd grade and looking for you at school. I even asked what happened to you, but I didn't know your name. I even remember that terrible shirt you wore. I could have sworn you were real. I was, he says, just not to anyone besides you. When the dream begins to fade, we're still standing on the deck of that yacht, surrounded by water, holding on to each other like long-lost memories you want to relive again and again. When my feet touch the ground again, I don't know where I am, and I'm alone. Something like a production studio, and I apparently have a backstage pass. The walls hum like they're alive, lit from within, and the air is thick, like the atmosphere itself knows you're stepping into your assignment. I stand at the gate, nervous, heart pounding, hands fidgeting. I was invited, I remind myself as I stand at the door. Then a voice booms from above, soft but full of authority, like thunder wrapped in velvet. Her seat is up here, guide her. Y'all, I froze. That wasn't just clearance, that was recognition. An usher appears, smiles like he's known me my whole life, and starts leading me up one stair at a time, music pouring from the rafters like honey. 2nd story, balcony view. He points to a seat near the front. A few guys are already there, young, good-looking, moving to the rhythm of the music. They nudge each other as I walk in, whispering like boys who just saw a girl walk into shop class. One turns his back, pretending he ain't looking. But I see him. Or at least I see his hair. And y'all, I know that hair. It's been in dream after dream, floating through my nights like a holy cameo, great hair and mystery levels at 100. It's him, Mr. Famous Fella himself. I walk up behind him dancing, which is wildly out of character for me, but as soon as he lays eyes on me, he begins dancing too. I magically pull an iPad from thin air and hand it to him without a word shared between us. We take our seats, and we leave one seat for an unknown character to sit between us like even heaven knows we still need a buffer, but he leans around him still trying to make small talk with me. I laugh. I can't help it. A little bit because he's cute, and a lot of it because I have no idea why I'm there at all. I answer him politely, but my eyes are glued to the stage, 'cause something's coming. The curtain lifts, and what I see on that stage, it undoes me. It's my story. This very story I'm telling you now, on the big screen, but way better. Like people who actually know what they're doing got their hands on it and polished it right up. Like they took my awkward method of storytelling and fine-tuned it to purr like a kitten. My version is untrained and kinda ridiculous, but this, it's divine. Same dance, same story, and bigger purpose. Under a giant banner that reads, Dancing with the Divine. That title, it ain't cute, it's a commission. The atmosphere shifts and the room leans forward. We're not watchers, we're witnesses. And next to me, the guy who was flirting, he goes real quiet, straightens up, eyes locked forward like something just hit his spirit and rearranged the furniture. And I feel it too. This ain't just a performance, it's a revelation. And suddenly, I know him. Zeke, that's his name. It hits me like lightning. Zeke, the man from earlier visions, the man on the yacht. And now he's here, beside me, present, still, and reverent. And I swear to you, I see his face change right before my eyes. Not because he was a different man, but because he took off his mask. He's watching the same God I am with the same awe. The curtain drops. The music fades, and the air is still vibrating with glory as the dream shifts to morning like a post-credits scene, only witnessed by those who stuck around. Sunlight pours through sheer curtains in some fancy hotel suite. Zeke and I are sitting at a table grinning like kids who just saw God for the first time. I saw that move, I say, hands flying. That spin, I made that up, in the middle of nowhere, with no plan and bad knees. He laughs, his eyes bright. It was more than real, he says. It was alive. We sit in the glow, presents still hanging in the room like it paid for the hotel. Then his voice shifts, lower, calmer, and serious. So, what's your next move? I pause. I don't know, I say. All I do know is I can't go back to normal, not after this. He leans in like he's about to deliver the punchline of my whole life. Do you need a job? He asks. And y'all, it wasn't really about employment, 'cause heaven sure ain't paying me hourly. This was God talking through him, offering me the job. saying, "Step into your calling, you're on." And there was no hesitation on my part. No, "Let me pray on it for a few weeks," or "I need to fast and make sure." I just knew this was it. I'd been praying for the invitation, and heaven had printed it in gold and delivered it face to face. I said yes with my whole chest, because when God finally calls you off the bench and says, "It's go time, sweetheart," you don't sit there asking for a playbook. You zip up your backpack, grab the mic, and celebrate like hell is all around you and heaven is descending from the clouds.